Hewn out of solid rock like a 10-story building, a lighthouse-sized statue and its slightly smaller companion, the Buddhas of Bamiyan, built almost 1,500 years ago when Bamiyan was a holy Buddhist site. They surely were amongst the world's most impressive and important sites. For years, they survived under the watchful eye of the Hazaras, an ethnic group of mainly Shia Muslims who lived in and around Bamiyan. That was until the Sunni Taliban came to power in Afghanistan in 1996, bringing with them Sharia law. The Hazaras suffered severe oppression, ethnic massacres, whole villages burned to the ground. Although the Taliban promised to save the statues, they changed their minds in 2001. To cries of Allahu Akbar, God is great, the Taliban dynamited the monuments as false idols, contrary to Islamic beliefs.
They tied people up and made them come down this way. They dug holes inside the Buddhas. Then they placed bombs in them, one every 10 meters. The mountain is on the brink of collapsing ever since.
Well, later that same year came 9/11, and soon afterwards the US and its allies, including France, began their operation to remove the Taliban from power. As the Taliban prepared to retreat, they totally destroyed the town of Bamiyan. Hundreds of Hazara men simply executed as the Taliban fled. Since then, those who survived have been joined again by many of the Hazaras who'd left. Life has not been easy. People forced, at least initially, to live in the caves cut out of the rock behind where the statues used to stand. Taliban insurgents still threaten the region, and local people fearful of attacks and that the Taliban may one day return. Well, France 24's Claire Debuzer, Kamal Abduharim and Abbas Naderi revisit Bamiyan for us.
When the Taliban arrived, we were forced to flee. We ended up getting arrested and we became prisoners of the Taliban. One day they brought us here and we were forced to destroy the Buddhas.
For the last 15 years, Mirza Hussein's history has been indelibly intertwined with the story of Bamiyan. In March 2001, he was forced to destroy the millennia-old Buddha statues that stood guard over the city.
They made us carry the explosives on our shoulders, and we had to place them inside the cavities. When we finished, we went to the mosque nearby, and we used a remote control to trigger the explosion. The first explosion tore down the legs of the statue, but the rest of the structure remained.
Mirza, along with other prisoners, toiled for 25 days to destroy the two giant Buddhas. Amongst the former prisoners, he's the only one who chose to stay. The rest left or are now dead.
The Taliban had a misperception, a very serious misperception about the place.
At that time, we couldn't tell the Taliban that they'd misunderstood.
No, at the time we were in the mountains. We just could not go down and tell them to stop. At that time, it was the Taliban who were in charge. They controlled everything in Bamiyan. They are the ones who ordered the destruction of the Buddhas. Why destroy this ancient heritage? Because they were wild, savages.
There are people who don't know how it happened. When they see me, they tell me that what I did was wrong. They tell me, why didn't you escape? Why did you destroy the Buddhas? Some concede that they know it was hard for me, that I participated in the destruction despite myself. Finally, there are people who tell me to be careful of what I say. They are the ones supporting the Taliban even today.
Nearly 15 years later, the Taliban haven't been able to reclaim Bamiyan. Today, the inhabitants dream of a more prosperous future. Located on the famous Silk Route, Bamiyan hopes to revive its exceptional historical and natural heritage and to once again become the heart of the country's tourist industry. The valley is home to Afghanistan's first national park. To the northwest of the city are the Band-e-Amir lakes and turquoise waters hidden amongst the mountains of the Hindu Kush. the University of Bamyan, Professor Mohammad Reza Ibrahim firmly believes the scenic site can draw tourists. The university is the only establishment in the city that offers specially tailored training for the tourism industry.
Sit.
On the program today is a course in sustainable development.
Social science, economy, and ecology. These are the three pillars of sustainable development: social science, economy, and ecology.
The first group of students graduated last year. Today, 260 students are part of this 4-year-long course of study. Mohammad Reza Ibrahim is convinced that tourism is vital to reviving his city.
The only activity and industry that we can promote in Bamyan is tourism, because we don't need that much large scale investment. We don't need the raw materials. The raw materials are all the cultural heritage that already exist in Bamyan.
Later, these young students hope to find employment as managers in large hotels or as tour guides. Despite the tense environment, most of them don't intend to leave the city.
I know the number of visitors to our country continues to decline, but I'm very optimistic, and I think that after I graduate, I can work in tourism.
I am in my 3rd year at the university. I am from this province and I want to continue living here later. We have a very green environment in Bamyan, and there are so many culturally valuable things.
Earlier this year, Bamyan was named Cultural Capital of SAARC, an organization that brings together 8 Asian countries. 2 days of festivities are planned to celebrate the event. When he's not teaching, Mohammad Reza Ibrahim puts on his second hat, that of the manager of the Bamyan Tourism Association.
Fortunately or unfortunately, there is only one instructor who teaches tourism in Bamyan, and that's me.
Today, a special launch is planned at the airport.
Now.
A brand new tourist counter is opened in the terminal. Last year, over 7,000 people passed through this airport to visit Bamyan. Mohammad Reza Ibrahim hopes that the planned festivities will increase traffic by 25% in 2015.
Before we had this all material in our office, but now we are planning to have this information center in the Bamyan airport.
I strongly believe in more development, and I hope we will see thousands of tourists arrive here in Bamyan.
There, now it's open.
The special counter is not the only novelty. Outside, a miniature replica of the Bamyan Buddhas was installed to appeal to tourists.
This is the symbol of SAARC cultural capital for Bamyan. As you see, the Buddha is there, and there is the written SAARC cultural capital of Bamyan for 2015. It will be closed like this, and during the inauguration it will be open.
But Bamyan is still a far cry from the pretty picture the organizers are painting for tourists. A man sitting near the tarmac brings us back to reality. He's a soldier, a survivor of an attack on the border of the city that took place just the previous day. His unit came back, but 2 of his colleagues lost their lives to Taliban gunfire. With each day, the sound of gunfire gets louder in Bamyan. The insurgency, increasingly stronger and more structured, is gaining ground. And then there is the poverty and underdevelopment, twin evils that are endemic here. The province is one of the poorest in the country. The majority of the inhabitants are Shiites from the Hazara minority and are neglected by the central government. Over 100 families still live in these caves, as old as the Buddhas nearby. Among them, at the top of the cliff, is Khadija, who lives here with her husband and children.
This is our solar panel with battery. Without this, it's all black here. When you open the door, it's as dark as a tomb. This is a lighter. It's put on charge, and then it's used for 5 hours in the evening and switched off at 7 o'clock in the morning. It's very difficult to live here because the winters are very cold in Bamyan, so we use a lot of wood and fuel every winter. It's always cold here.
In 2009, these caves were declared a World Heritage Site by UNESCO. To preserve the area, the authorities promised to relocate the habitants elsewhere. But so far, Khadija's life continues on as before.
Each year, the authorities say we must leave because it's a UNESCO site. So far, they've not forced us to leave our caves, and we'll stay here until they take the problem seriously. They must give us a place to live. If it suits us, we'll go. Otherwise, we'll remain here.
Many remain in the city by default. Despite the poverty, Bamyan is much more peaceful than other provinces in Afghanistan. But right now, there are other things to worry about. The Bamyan Cultural Capital festivities are starting. At the edge of the airport, there's a lot of excitement about the imminent arrival of prominent personalities.
Your ID cards. Show me the IDs, please.
Despite the constant hovering of helicopters, many guests have cancelled their attendance at the last minute, discouraged by the risk of an attack. The Deputy Afghan Vice President is here. The city is besieged by armoured 4x4 security vehicles. Besides the usual Bamyan police, soldiers have come especially from Kabul to strengthen security.
There's been extra security here in Bamyan for a week. Things are getting serious now.
For Mohammad Reza Ibrahim, this is the moment of truth.
This is the most important meeting, the most important event which is happening in Bamyan during 14 years back.
And for you, personally?
For me also it is a happy day, and I enjoy from this day, and this is wonderful for me.
For the organizers and the Afghan authorities, nothing must disturb the celebrations. The festival is a demonstration that will show the world a different image of Afghanistan, an image of a peaceful and joyous province where one can safely attend an open-air concert. It's a sight that's hard to imagine anywhere else in this war-torn nation.
I'm very happy and very pleased that our province was chosen as cultural capital.
This is the first step towards success and prosperity in Bamyan. And we're optimistic. One day people who live in caves will become those who live in castles, and besides, there's tourism. It can be a good source of income for all of Afghanistan.
For everyone here, it's also a rare opportunity to reconnect with the past, when under the cover of darkness, the larger of the two Buddhas is reborn, if only for a few moments. Thanks to a 3D projection on the cliff face, the people of Bamyan witness the rebirth of their heritage. In Afghanistan, people continue to debate whether or not the Buddhas should be rebuilt. Proponents of rebuilding believe that it will attract more tourists to Bamyan. Opponents argue that there are not enough original stones to rebuild the site and use of new material will lead to a withdrawal of its World Heritage designation by UNESCO. But for now, this is the first time that many young people have seen the Buddhas that they've grown up hearing so much about.
Before I saw this, I did not imagine that our ancestors could build such things.
We're really satisfied. We can again see the true appearance of the Buddhas through this presentation. We thank those who made this possible.
This incredible idea took shape thanks to this pair of Chinese filmmakers. For 2 years now, Zhang and Lang have traveled the world and filmed their adventures for an internet program. This season, they chose the ancient Silk Road. Everywhere they go, they organize special projects like this one.
We're happy to have brought smiles to the faces of these people.
Tonight, Bamiyan is happy. Tomorrow, the city hopes to find support from other nations keen to revive the ancient Silk Route.
Tonight, Bamiyan is happy. Tomorrow, the city hopes to find support from other nations who are keen to revive the ancient Silk Route. But the Afghan state has never seemed more fragile. Only time can tell whether Bamiyan will live up to its visions for greatness.
Claire Debuzin, Kamal Abderharim and Abbas Nadar revisiting Bamiyan. Well, that is all from this week's edition of Revisited. You can catch it again and all the previous editions, of course, on our website. That's france24.com. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more.